Well, the U.S. State Department has been caught gifting over $239 million to the Taliban. Judicial Watch reports that the State Department gave the money meant for counterterrorism directly to the terrorist organization in a series of fraudulent grants. So, friends, why are Kamala Harris and Joe Biden treating the Taliban better than they treat their own citizens? Joining me now is author of A Mission Without Borders, my good friend, Chad Robichaux. Chad, I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. You've got the goods. You've been looking into this very thing, this absolute debacle. I mean, it's really a treasonous travesty is what's taking place. What can you tell us about this money that's going to the Taliban?
Well, first of all, that 290 million you spoke about, that's just a fraction. That's just what they're able to show in the SIGAR, which is Special Inspector General's Afghanistan review. It's much more money than that. We're talking $40 to $85 million a week. That's actually 43 to 87, to be precise, $1 million a week that's going to the Taliban. And by the way, I just spent my day with a DOD employee whose job is to trace this stuff. I spoke to them all day on this. Before that, 20 years as a CIA targeter, so very reliable information. The money is actually going in cash. So there's some money that's going to humanitarian aid, but the money that's really in question is the money that's going in cash on pallets to Afghanistan every week, and that money goes directly into the hands of the 4 top leaders of the Taliban, which all of them, by the way, are sanctioned by the United States government. 3 of them are on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. So that in itself alone is a crime. That's to give money to it. Wait. Yes, go ahead.
Wait, there's pallets of cash. You said an average of 40 to 80 million a week, but half of that is cash that we, the United States, are sending directly to Taliban leaders that are on the top 10 watch list that are sanctioned by us, that we know are terrorists, and yet we're sending them this money in cash every single week? Is that what I just heard you say?
That's exactly what I said, and that is, in fact, a crime. If you or I would do that, we'd be under a jail right now for that. And our White House is doing it, and they have no exemption to do it, by the way. There's no exemptions for them to do this. It is a crime that they're giving this money. And they're trusting these people. So this money, so you know what it is cash, it's considered counterterrorism money. So we are giving it to them for them to fight terrorism in Afghanistan. Now, we know that money's going straight to, we know for a fact some of this money's going straight to Al-Qaeda. It's been known that it's went to the bin Laden family, who's has a retaliatory attack planned against the United States because of their father, Osama bin Laden. So that's where this money's. There's 52 training camps in Afghanistan right now by Al-Qaeda. 52. I mean, they were back in 2001. There were 4.
Wow.
The number of it's incredible, the number of growing terrorists in Afghanistan. And the thing is, this Doha agreement, it should have been null and void from the beginning because the Taliban are terrorists. But the Doha agreement states that they will not support terrorism. And that brings this money into play that we're going to help fund them not to support terrorism. But that's exactly where this money is going. Some of the places that this money is going, we know has ended up and it's being hidden and ended up in going directly to ISIS. The money actually is being used to hunt down and kill our allies because we left our biometrics there for them. So now they have the biometrics of all our allies, and they're using this money from your taxpayer dollars to go out and hunt our allies and systematically kill them. One of the things that disturbed me the most.
You're talking about, for clarity, the biometrics that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris left in Afghanistan when they just pretty much got out?
Yeah, that along with our billions of dollars in equipment and technology. And they're using that to hunt down our allies and kill them. They're using that to fight our allies that are being led by Ahmad Massoud. And they, by the way, they blacklisted and is on a no-fly list to come to the United States as he's begging to come before Congress and be heard before Congress to report information on an upcoming terrorist attack. So, you guys, I know you're well aware that we were doing the petition to get that signed and make sure he get before Congress so Congress could hear him. But one of the things that bugged me really bad, and this should make every American sick to their stomach on both sides of the aisle, is in this money that we're sending, yours and mine taxpayer dollars that we're sending, $43 to $87 million a week. In that is a martyr fee. That mortar fee is to be paid to family members of Taliban that were killed during the war on terror. They're giving housing and $1,000 a month
Wow.
to family members of Taliban that we killed in the war on terror in Afghanistan. How is that? How can that sit with anyone, knowing that we have our service members, families at home, and nonprofits have to raise money to send the survivors of our troops to college and to take care of their families, but we're sending money to take care of the families of Taliban that we killed. These mortar fees. It's disgusting. The fact that our White House would support this and hide this from the American people, and the fact that beyond how disgusting it is, it is, again, this is criminal activity by giving this money to sanction individuals.
How are they getting away with this? How are they how are they able to continue giving this money, and they're sending cash in pallets when our own veterans here are broke? Our own people are broke. Our economy's in the toilet. Americans can't afford to put gas in their car and get groceries, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And you're sharing with us that our current administration, including Kamala Harris, is complicit in sending all this money directly to terrorists who are then funding the families of terrorists that got killed because they were terrorists. And we're taking care of their families, but not our own. How is this possible? How are they able to continue doing this? And how do we stop it?
They're doing it under the lie that this money is being used to combat terrorism. This is counterterrorism money. That's why it's going in cash, and that's how they're justifying it. But again, it doesn't. They have no grounds to give it to people that are sanctioned and people that are on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. They have no grounds to do that, but they are. So that's how they're trying to get around it. Now they would say, and this is why the Taliban is not on the terrorist list. I would say the Taliban is a terrorist organization. Anybody that has a half a brain would say the Taliban are a terrorist organization. But the White House deems the Taliban as a legitimate organization. In fact, the leader of the Afghan government that they put in place. So that's how they justify it through the Doha Agreement to give them cash to combat terrorism. But in fact, we know for certain, that money is being used not to combat terrorism, but to fund terrorism, to fund training for terrorism, to recruit for terrorism.
Let me ask you this. You did a lot of work when President Trump was in office. You were very privy to some things that he was doing. I got just about 90 seconds here, Chad. How different were things underneath President Trump? And then second part, do you think that anything will change if Kamala Harris stays in office, or is it going to take President Trump to stop this madness?
Well, I mean, when President Trump was in office, you look back at the presidents that were involved in the war on terror: President Bush, President Obama, President Trump, President Biden. The rules of engagement under President Trump saved the lives of our service members and kept them safe. We were able to take it to the enemy. We wiped out ISIS. We put the Taliban at bay to where the Taliban wouldn't even touch a U.S. troop during his term in office. And the rules of engagement have changed back. And our troops are always at risk. And it makes our national security weaken when you don't have a strong leader in the White House that gets behind their troops. To answer your question about will this change if President Trump comes in office versus Kamala Harris going in office, look, Kamala Harris is part of this. She can't. There's no. I'm the vice president. You're part of this, and you cannot convince me that Kamala Harris would do anything to change the trajectory of supporting the Taliban and funding terrorism, funding terrorists from funding Hamas through Iran, or funding terrorists, Al Qaeda, ISIS, the Taliban, through giving cash, pallets of cash every week on the week to these terrorist leaders in Afghanistan. And there's no excuse
and
for it.
How long? How long has this been going on? How long has the United States been giving this cash?
I couldn't give you a date, but from what I understand, it's been since just after the withdrawal. This was part of the deal with them, the Doha Agreement, which the Doha Agreement, by the way, should be null and void from get-go. It should not exist. It should be, it for certain should have been forfeited when the Taliban started committing acts of terrorism. We know that they are.
Final question. Is there any doubt in your mind that this current administration has known that they've been directly funding terrorists? They can't say, oh, we didn't know. Is there any doubt in your mind that they absolutely know what they're doing?
I mean, it started from as the withdrawal was happening. The Taliban came in and lined up our allies in the streets on camera and executed them. That's terrorism. They executed in the game power of the country.
But I'm saying Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they know exactly.
And I'll backtrack a second. Say I don't know Joe Biden knows what his name is, but the administration is definitely informed of. I mean, they're doing this. This is a decision they're making. This isn't something that someone else in the government's doing. This is the White House that has made this decision and made this agreement with the Doha against the advice, by the way, of all the generals and all the Joint Chiefs and the people I like or don't like throughout the administration that are appointed right now.
It's insane.
They have all recommended against this, and President Joe Biden alone has chose to do this. The White House has chose to do this.
Chad Robichaux, my brother, thank you so much for breaking this and for making it very crystal clear who actually has our backs and who's arming those that want to stab us in the back. God bless you, brother. I appreciate you.
God bless you. Thank you.